I'm just going to take about 15 minutes to go through 10 growth strategies here real quick. But on the last panel, the detail about custom deal structures came up, and we've done 16 transactions using gross revenue royalties to get our capital off the table and de-risk the deal. We love doing those types of deals. They're not very commonly done, so it's something maybe for some investors to research in the negotiation of a deal that you're working on right now. So just wanted to mention that before I get started here. All right, so I'll go quick because I know it's been a lot of people on stage for a one-day event, and I know a lot of you are fast-moving CEOs, aren't used to sitting for this long any day. So we'll go real quick through 10 growth strategies that I've taken note of through running Family Office Club the last 18 years. In the movie City Slickers, how many people have seen that movie? Right, Billy Crystal and like Krusty. Billy Crystal says, "Well, what's the secret to life?" And he's out there having like a midlife crisis, doing a cattle drive, and Krusty holds up his pinky finger, and he's like, your pinky finger, your little finger, secret to life? And he's like, "No, you idiot. Like it's one thing." And he's like, "Well, tell me the one thing." And he's like, "Well, you got to figure that out for yourself." I mean, that's why people have a family office. That's why super founders create a family office, so they can focus on their one or two things that they have a thesis around. It could be a thesis around some niche in AI or a medical device. It could be that they made their money in manufacturing, so they want to invest in that, plus manufacturing tech, whatever it is, but also design a game that they can win and that they want to play, and where they can keep score of a game that makes sense to them and that they know works based on their history, et cetera. So that's what a lot of the family office industry is about, and the whole point of setting up a family office in the first place. We talked earlier about extreme focus being a superpower, but what that really means is being able to say no more and more often, because the deals that you used to say yes to now you have to say no to because you have more good things going on. Patrick talked about having a partnership with the Catholic Church where he has 90-year land leases with no raises in rents. Okay, well, if you have that, now that you have that, something else you might have said yes to, you have to compare it to that and say, okay, yeah, no, I think I'm going to say no to that and keep focused on these things I already have, right? So you probably have more K1s, more LLCs, perhaps more employees over time. You have to say no to more things every year as you grow. If you don't, you're not going to grow. The other thing is to pay attention to the media you consume, the books you consume. That's why we have these themes at our events of having lots of investors on stage, a pro athlete discussion panel. We have a Navy SEAL who's going to come on one of our pro athlete panels here soon. We interview billionaires, centimillionaires, et cetera, because the podcasts, the books you read, et cetera, can change your life. And having Next Gen here in the room, having them consider, reading 30 books that were authored by billionaires, not 30 best-selling business books that everybody else in the world has read. Doing what everyone else does is almost never a good idea. And usually it's treated as a best practice. Best practice means most common practice, and it means you're part of the herd. So you want to understand what best practices are, avoid most of them, and then do some things that are unique and more valuable typically. Eben Pagan was one of my mentors early on, but all of these people talk about mental models. Charles Munger says you need 100 of them. If you've been in the club for a while, you're probably tired of me hearing about them. But essentially, the people who get extremely positive results did so because they thought differently, and that led to different actions. And there's these windows of opportunity in time where they took certain actions because of their mental models. So it's more valuable to figure out how they think and why they think that way than what they did. And many times in the interviews with billionaires, they go back to their expectation of excellence, their grit, their ability to have a crystal clear vision, all of those things, not giving you a roadmap of here's the exact formula of 9 things you need to do right now, because it's going to be different at every different point in time. Another thing related to saying no is just looking at your life and seeing that maybe 5% of your life is 95% of the stress and chaos and mess. And, maybe there's those 2 clients that always act like that you owe them the world and want to follow up with you 5 times a day. And the other ones are very reasonable. So figuring out like what Bill said on the last panel, they manage $5 billion, who is nice to work with. And starting there is a very basic premise just to make life more enjoyable, which we'll get to in a couple minutes here. There's a famous book, Who Not How, written by Dan Sullivan, who's also been a mentor to me over the years. But now, good and bad, is that you can start a company with no other employees. There's companies now that are unicorn companies with $1 billion plus in revenue with 5 to 15 employees. That wasn't possible before, right? Microsoft keeps growing, but also laid off 7,000 people. What are those 7,000 people going to do? Well, some of them might become HVAC electricians and plumbers so that those people don't cost more than our attorneys. But other ones are going to start companies with 1 to 2 partners and create $100 million valued companies because they can launch and build software with vibe coding and Cursor and Riplet and everything else very quickly. And so now it's sometimes AI, not who, right? And you can do research faster and you can get things pulled together much quicker than you could before. And that's part of our goal with investor superintelligence. Choke points came up multiple times today. It came up in the oil and gas presentations. It came up with some of our fireside chats today, having an agreement with a $100 billion plus balance sheet of real estate, having a relationship with a family office to create a pickleball, platform, et cetera. Those are all unique things that once you have secured, make everything else move faster. We've got a long webinar on this if you haven't explored this, but we have to bring it up as one of the top 10 growth strategies to focus on. Your state of mind might matter more than the strategies you use at this point. I think everyone needs a reminder of this because we come here and we might take notes about what everyone said on stage, but strategy number 804 that you hear, if it's not like amazing, is it really going to move the needle like this? But Tony Robbins says most of us don't focus on our state of mind. Do we bounce back quickly? Are we high action? Are we optimistic? Are we positive? Are we confident? Are we focused? Are we enjoying life? You heard on stage all day, it's about developing relationships. If you're not enjoyable to be around at all, how many people are going to want to spend time conducting due diligence with you or have a second meeting, right? If you're way too serious and intense, then maybe nobody wants to be part of the cap table because there's other people they could do business with that are more enjoyable. This is in part why I'm living in Hawaii, because when I pull my head out of Zoom inbox land, then I'm outside and I want to go hiking up to a local, ridge summit, or I want to go play in the waves with my 3 girls that you met here today, et cetera. And it just encourages me to be outside versus if it was gray and rainy and cold, most of the year, et cetera. So find different ways to be around the right people, but also modify your environment if you can to make it so that if you enjoy life more, it's probably going to make you more successful because other people, when they invest their time into you or their capital into you, they're essentially saying there's some part of you that I see in myself. So I think you're going to be successful because I am successful as an entrepreneur because I have that same characteristic and we are the same. Or they want to be more like you, or they don't have your expertise. There's some part of you that they want, or they see part of themselves in you. And that is why they're doing business with you at some basic level. We bring this up often because it's helped us get so many deals done that otherwise, literally, people told us we're wasting our time and go away. Custom structuring the transaction, use our deal structure ninja artificial intelligence GPT booster tool to get ideas on this. But many times no just means no, not under that structure at that valuation right now. So I encourage you to keep that in mind. One thing that Michael Scott talks about a lot is being high velocity. I think it's one of the most important things. There was an interview with a Silicon Valley centimillionaire last week I saw that said you just need to keep on taking rapid action. Every time you take an action, you get feedback. You put out a white paper, you get feedback. You do a podcast interview. If you don't get feedback, then maybe it wasn't the best interview, and that's a form of feedback. If you do an interview and you get hundreds of people reaching out, that's a form of feedback. The more that you take actions, at least if it has extreme focus on something, then usually the faster you're going to learn. And Elon says that speed is the ultimate weapon in business. And I believe in a fast-moving world, that's more true now than before. And part of the purpose of this room is to have the courage to move forward on plans that you think could be excellent, even if other people around you don't see it. Peter Thiel says that's the definition of predicting the future, is to have the courage to act with great action. Grant Cardone says you can be obsessed or be average, right? And so once you decide on that crystal clear vision, going high velocity after that can make the difference of making it. versus people not really taking it seriously or thinking you're going to get there. Some people around you, when you're excited and have a crystal clear vision because it's built on your DNA, what can make you money, what you're passionate about, massive future demand, isn't too competitive, all those things we went over with the worksheet, they'll then look at you and criticize you. But oftentimes the black belt in martial arts doesn't make fun of the person on their first day at the dojo, right? It's the person who has never tried martial arts that makes fun of the person, right? And so people will laugh at the idea or call you a workaholic, but like the founders of Home Depot, they wanted to get to 1,000 stores before they started, and nobody would finance or fund them. And a banker like Bill went out of their way and told the bank, I'm quitting my job and taking my whole book of business with me to another bank if you don't back these guys with no collateral, because I really believe in them. And that's what made the Home Depot what it is today. And they granted him tons of stock shares, and they have him on retainer for life for what he did. But the main point of showing them here is to get you to potentially read their book and just know that to them, they thought it was like this big, exciting adventure. Let's see if we can do this. They had this vision and let's make it real. And to them, it was fun and exciting. Who knows how many people around them thought they were workaholics and like, oh, all they care about is work. You have to basically, as an entrepreneur, Ray Dalio says, be really careful how you weight feedback. You have to listen really carefully to what maybe some people say on stage who are further down the path or are a family office that represents who you want to build a relationship with, and ignore most other human beings on planet Earth, because it's not informative of where you're trying to go. It's not helpful, and it's just a distraction. So you just have to get used to being a thoughtful, nice person, but also really not caring what people think 99% of the time, but having your own values set. This is one of the final growth ideas, and I just have a couple housekeeping items I'll go through. But this combination of ideas is something that's really built our business. And I was a computer programming major for 3 months in college before I switched to business. And in the computer programming kind of hacker world, if someone does a brute force attack, they're just guessing, million password combinations at once. And if they break in, then bad things happen to that account, right? That is a brute force attack, like take down a website or take down a server, a service, etc. What it is just this combination of so many approaches at once. And what I found is that if you take Robert Cialdini's approach of adding value first, which creates reciprocation, and you're consistent in your actions, and you have extreme focus, and like Arnold Schwarzenegger says, having that crystal clear vision is most important. And with that extreme focus, apply many different combinations of actions that all add value first, like a white paper, speaking on stage, designing a structure that's win-win, etc. And you do that in a niche sandbox over time in a rapid fire session so that you're learning faster and faster. Other people won't compete with that work ethic. Most don't have that extreme focused vision. And then you will learn faster by taking more actions. And then that produces amazing results that are unpredictable. So in high school, I found this by cold calling everybody in the Yellow Pages, got a job designing websites for Indian business owners in high school. Getting out of college, I landed a 6-figure job by cold calling everybody in the Portland, Oregon Chamber of Commerce. No one would give me a job. So I told them I'd work for free until they thought it was worth it. And then one person gave me the chance. And I did risk consulting for several years, lived with my parents and paid for my MBA in cash, and then got bored doing risk consulting. And that's how I got into the capital markets world, because no one wanted to pay a kid 6 figures. And then with Billionaires.com, I approached him every 2 to 4 months for 12 years till we bought it. And I emailed Mark Cuban 14 times before he answered my question. So we're at interview number 47 with Billionaires.com. But all the Family Office Club is built on this mental model, basically. So I say to go around and collect mental models. This is just what's worked for us. Maybe some combination of this or these other growth strategies will work for you. Or maybe you've heard, other things on stage today that would be super helpful to you. So Jeff Hoffman is one of my favorite speakers that has spoken at our events. You can watch his presentation at billionaires.com. He said one of his secrets is putting sticky notes on his mirror. When he brushes his teeth, he knows these are his top 3 to 5 goals. And he could not forget them because he woke up to them every day and I would see him on accident. So I read this one pager while shaving each day, and it has my monthly, quarterly, annual goals, my one-liner mental statements. Think about if you talked to a ChatGPT and you gave it all this context of do this, always do this, never do that, always think this way, and do all of that, and then asked it a question,
think about what the results would be versus just asking the LLM the question. That's what these statements are like starting your day. So you know where you're headed and how you're going to get there. And Jennifer can send you a template of this Word document if you want it. I've got a slightly more concise template version of Word that we can send you. Don't forget about our 40 ChatGPT accelerator tools. You do not need training on these. You literally can get access to it and say, I'm completely confused. How do I use this as a tool? And it will literally list out all the ways, not just that it can be used, but telling it who you are. It'll tell you exactly how you can use it. So you can upload your pitch deck, record an audio message, say, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm completely lost on how to use it. And all these tools will self-explain and self-train you on how to do it. So there's no formal training. There's no software to download. There's no hassle factor. They're super practical. Most AI tools half work, don't work, or you have to spend hours configuring and then you give up on the trial because they're really in beta mode trying to get them to work. I mentioned this at the start of the day, and I think most of you heard it. Another example of the one pager we recently designed. It's just version 1 because I was joining with the client recently as an eternal one pager. They didn't have this 2 weeks ago, so we helped them design version of 1 of that. Importantly, investors want to, and they're basically looking to save their time, right? So being super unique, came up many times on stage, having a one-liner, a one-pager, a 1-minute video, having all that be highly compelling, high conviction, and just be concise and direct in your materials. When I have people raise their hand in a recent workshop, 1 or 2 people out of 55 people, 60 people at the workshop would have these things. So probably nobody who's your direct competitor in your local market has these things in place, but every investor you talk to wants them to have them in place. So if you want to speak to Jimmy or Jennifer about help getting this in place, whether you're a family office, a wealth advisor, fund manager, private equity manager, a company raising capital, we can help you do that if you need the help. Otherwise, just take everything I learned and implement it yourself. And you might not need our help. You know, if you do, we have our in-house $500,000 a year of W-2 employees that do this for us, and we're happy to share them as a resource, but you don't need to. You can just implement this yourself. All right, so here's my contact details. If you need to shoot me an email and give me some private feedback, I'll be hanging out up here for a bit. If you want to come up and say hello. Again, I live on the windward side in Kailua, so it's about 30 minutes from here or so. And we really enjoyed living here over the last year. This is our first event here in Hawaii. Most of our events, which we host 22 and now next year 25 of them a year, are in Dallas, New York City, Los Angeles, and South Florida. And for those of you who do live in Hawaii, many of you own some businesses or have assets or family members in some of those cities or nearby. So welcome you to get involved in the Investor Club. And our goal is every quarter to be twice a quarter in all of those cities. So twice a quarter in Dallas, twice a quarter in New York City, Los Angeles, South Florida, so that those people in those regions can pretty easily come to our events. So I hope to see you at some more of our events down the road. Our next one is our artificial intelligence tutorial workshop. We're hosting it in all 4 of those cities. And when you get your laptops out, and we're going to walk through all of these tools together. So you leave the day, it's 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., and you leave there knowing how to use the ChatGPT boosters with design. Every type of tool we offer, we're going to go through at that mastermind. And then we have in September, our Beverly Hills Super Summit. It's going to be 400 people. So it'll be 3 times the size of this ballroom. We're going to have 75 speakers on stage. Actually, it's 84 speakers on stage and not just 25. So there'll be many more people to hear from. After that, in November, we have a investment due diligence mastermind in all 4 cities being hosted in the same week, in the first week of November. And then our last event of the year, I believe, is December 9th to 11th in Fort Lauderdale at the Westin Beachfront Hotel. And at that event, it's our biggest annual event, and it will have 125 speakers on stage over 3 days, more family offices on stage than any other event globally, except for maybe Davos beats us or some Silicon Valley nerd fest. It's full of Silicon Valley billionaires probably, but in the family office space, it's the most, and it's very fast moving, and it's usually 700 to 1,100 people at that event. So it might be 8 or 9 times the size of this room. So it's a little bit easier to network here today. A lot of Hawaiian neighbors here. So I hope everyone enjoys the cocktail hour over the next hour, and hopefully to see you at one of those mini events that we just rattled off. And thank you for being here as part of the Family Office Club, Family Office Hawaii Retreat. Take care.
If you are a founder, raising capital, developing real estate, or you're an investor, would love for you to get involved in the Family Office Club. I've run this community for 18 years now. We've hosted 300 live events. We have 17 million social media group members and followers. We have the #1 YouTube channel on family offices. We have the #1 most popular podcast on family offices. You can learn more about us and our membership options at familyoffices.com. We have 30 in-person events planned in 2026 and another dozen events this year. Please go to familyoffices.com to learn more.